In this episode, I'm going to teach you how to fix that nagging hip flexor pain when you squat.
I want you to have the capability to fully move the way your body was designed to, right?
Drop of a hat, I'll take you back to where my problems lie. In trouble, young adult, I done some shit that made my mama cry. Out to the heavens like I bless him, for I know he's lost. Caught in a trance and this manic depression settled in. Living in the fantasy.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Dr. Horschig and this is episode 26 of the Ask Squat You show. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. It's that holiday season. We had to get a video in right before Christmas. Hope you guys are ready for it. Let's get to today's question.
Josie writes, "Hi, I have pain in the hip flexor when I do heavy squats. What exercises can I do?"
Alright, so today's topic is how to fix hip flexor pain when lifting. Now, to really get a true fix on this problem, we have to take a comprehensive three-step approach. First, we're going to talk about mobility work. We're going to talk about stretching. We're going to talk about deep tissue work. Second, we're going to talk about core stability work. And third, we're going to talk about purposeful strengthening work. Now, before we get into all that, I want to show you quickly how do you know if you have a hip flexor strain, and then we'll get into all the fixes. Now, the two most common signs and symptoms associated with a true hip flexor strain is going to be pain with resisted movement and maybe a little bit of pain or stiffness with some flexibility testing. So the first one, if you take your leg and raise it up and then have a partner or a friend try to push your leg down, the inability to resist that movement without pain deep inside that groin or hip flexor area is your first sign. The second thing is called a Thomas test. We're going to be able to test the flexibility of that area right there. What you're going to do is find a bench. You're going to lay close to the edge of the bench. You're going to lay all the way on your back and then let one leg down at a time. So this is what it's going to look like.
Start by sitting on the edge of a bench. Lay all the way back and grab both of your knees. Hold one knee close to your chest and let the other one drop down. If you pass this test, your leg will end up fairly straight. However, if you fail this test, your hip flexor stiffness will cause your leg to hang in the air as shown.
Now, the first fix for dealing with a hip flexor strain is some light stretching. This is called the half kneeling hip flexor stretch. You're going to get down into a kneeling position. I want you to put your hands on the sides of your hips. Now your thumb and your finger should be in a C shape and grabbing the bony prominence that sticks out in front. That's your ASIS of your pelvis. We're going to first do this movement incorrectly so then you can learn how to perform it correctly. You're going to take your hands and we're going to anteriorly pelvic tilt. So we're going to get a big arch in our low back. Tip your pelvis forward. Now to get the stretch, we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to posteriorly pelvic tilt. So your hands will go from here to down like that. And in doing so, we're going to feel a good stretch in the front side of your hip. Now, I don't want this to be too extreme, so it should be a gentle stretch. And I want you to hold it for about 10 seconds and then back off. You want to hold this stretch for about 10 seconds and perform 10 of them total. Another great way to stretch your hip flexors is called a prone active leg lift. And the reason this is so different is because it's not a passive stretch where you're pushing your body into a stretch, but you're actually using the muscles on the back side of your thigh to activate a stretch. So not only do we get the good benefit of a stretch on the front side of our body, but we also increase the activation of our glute muscles and actually restore that balance inside the body that's often lost when we have an injury. This is what it's going to look like.
Start the stretch by laying on your stomach. You're going to bend your knee and then raise your leg by squeezing your glutes. Make sure to brace your core and keep your back flat and keep it from overextending during this. You should feel your butt muscles and maybe your hamstrings working a little bit. Now, if your hamstrings are cramping during this, you can do the same movement with a straight leg. Really squeeze your glutes and again, don't overextend your low back. So keep your core braced the entire time.
Performing some soft tissue mobilization with a small lacrosse ball can be a great way to help affect those stiff tissues when dealing with hip flexor pain. All you're going to do is place that ball just below your ASIs, that bony prominence on the front side of your pelvis, and go just to the inside. You're going to place the ball there and roll for a couple minutes, searching out stiff spots that hurt a little bit and pausing on them for just a little bit.
One of the most efficient ways to mobilize a hip flexor is to lay on a lacrosse ball. Position the ball just to the inside and below the ASIS bony prominence of your pelvis and roll slowly until you find a tender spot. Don't roll fast or you won't be very efficient at mobilizing those tissues.
Your hip flexors have two main functions. Not only do they bring your thigh towards the front of your body, so lift your leg, but they also aid in core stability. Now I find that often athletes who develop hip flexor pain do so because their body is over-relying on their hip flexors to produce core stability rather than rely on the muscles that surround their core. This exercise progression I'm going to show you today will help you improve your core stability and use your hip flexors as they were designed. Also, it's going to put a good amount of stress on those injured tissues that will help spark the healing process.
Start by laying on your back with your core braced and a small resistance band around your feet. Kick out and hold for a couple seconds. This is performing an isometric contraction of your hip flexor with the leg that's staying vertical. This will help place some force on the tendon and the muscle to create some healing, but not too much that will facilitate further injury of the painful area. The next step is going to be a bridge. So you're going to bridge up, keep your core braced, squeeze your butt muscles, and then perform an isotonic or resistance with movement exercise with the march. Hold this for a couple seconds and then back down. Make sure to keep your core braced the whole time and your glutes working hard to keep your body up.
The last step in clearing up some hip flexor pain is to clear up the lateral rotation strength deficits you may have. Often athletes that develop hip flexor pain have weakness in the lateral glute muscles and an inability to externally rotate well. So this exercise is great for that.
While laying on your side with a resistance band around your knee, brace your core and then open your knee up and down like a clamshell opening. Don't open too far or your pelvis will rotate backwards. You can also do this in a side plank for some added resistance and core stability work. Make sure to keep your leg up, squeeze, and then back down, and don't rotate your pelvis too far either way.
All right guys, so there you go. There's a simple 3-step process to effectively treating hip flexor pain. You've got mobility work, purposeful core stability, and strength work. If you guys are unable to find significant relief with those 3 ways, I highly suggest going to see a skilled professional like a physical therapist to really help you get over this issue. Question of the day time. With Christmas and the holidays coming up, my question is, do you travel for the holidays? And if so, how do you find time to still get your training in? I hope you guys are enjoying these Ask Why You shows. If you are, please like, comment below, let me know, share them with your friends, and subscribe to your channel. Big announcement time. I have my first short film documentary coming out soon. I'm going to be showing you guys a trailer in the next couple weeks. Until then, happy squatting, guys.
Hometown hero on the road doing shows and sold out arenas. You can call me what you want, but you won't ever slow my dreams up. This is the vision of a dreamer. I seem to